Hi everyone, I'm Lauren and I'll be discussing the pelletization of poultry litter, and I'll also be going into more depth about the Perdue AgriRecycle. So let's get started. What is poultry litter and what is the problem? As many of you know, poultry litter consists of manure and bedding material from poultry operations. This makes poultry litter very high in nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The problem with poultry litter is that there's such a surplus of the material that farmers don't know what to do with the excess litter. This is a problem because a lot of this excess litter is ending up in our waterways, causing a disruption in the environment. In the poultry industry, nearly all chickens raised today are grown under a contract between growers and large companies like Tyson and Perdue. The grower raises the chickens using the feed and the drugs supplied by the company, but in the end, the company gets the chickens and leaves the grower with the responsibility of disposing with the poultry litter. Many people believe that if the company is going to aid in the growing of the chickens, they should also aid in the safe removal of poultry litter from these operations. This is actually what Perdue did. Around 2001, Perdue recognized that farmland was being lost to development and regulations. This meant that some independent growers that typically used their litter on their own fields would need to find other uses for their poultry litter in order to keep farming. As a solution to this problem, Perdue created Perdue AgriRecycle. In 2001, Perdue invested over $13 million to create Perdue AgriRecycle, making them the first poultry company to implement a large-scale, environmentally safe alternative for poultry litter. And just a fun fact, AgriRecycle is located in Delaware, seeing it as one of the country's most concentrated areas of poultry production. What does Perdue AgriRecycle do? Perdue AgriRecycle collects surplus litter from poultry farms, and at the facility that collected litter is dried and sterilized and turned into an organic fertilizer. This pelletized poultry litter is sold for organic crops, golf courses, sports fields, nurseries, and it is a key ingredient in many organic gardening products. From 2001 to 2010, Perdue AgriRecycle handled over 730,000 tons of litter, which means they had handled 58 million pounds of nitrogen, 29 million pounds of phosphorus, and 44 million pounds of potassium. And since 2008, more than half of these nutrients were moved out of the Chesapeake Bay watershed in the form of fertilizer. Since 2001, Perdue has invested $31 million in Perdue AgriRecycle so they can keep agriculture economically viable as well as continue to reduce the amount of nutrients getting into the Delmarva waterways and the Chesapeake Bay. When Jim Perdue, the chairman of Perdue Farms, was asked why they started Perdue AgriRecycle, he simply replied with, "We did it because it was the right thing to do." In our class, we have learned how fertilizers can affect our environment through runoff. One group of individuals conducted a study called the Assessment of the Effects of Poultry Litter on Surface Runoff Water Quality from Agriculture Lands. In this study, they compared export nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus and trace elements such as zinc and arsenic in surface runoff from agriculture plots receiving pelletized poultry litter, raw poultry litter, and urea or no fertilizer treatments. Their data showed that nutrient exports from the pelletized poultry litter plots were less than that of the raw poultry litter and urea plots. This means that less nitrogen and phosphorus were running off the pelletized poultry litter plots than that of the raw poultry litter plots and the control plots. Results also showed that the exports of trace elements from the pelletized poultry litter plots exceeded that of the urea plots, but were much lower than that of the raw litter plots. Meaning, more zinc and arsenic ran off of the pelletized poultry litter plots than that of the control plots, but still, significantly less trace elements ran off the pelletized poultry litter plots than that of the raw poultry litter plots. In conclusion, they suggest that the combination of pelletized poultry litter and no-till farming may provide a safer alternative to synthetic fertilization. Negatives of pelletizing poultry litter. Chris Stevens, the communications director for the Center for a Livable Future, created a blog for the organization called The Hidden Hazards of Poultry Litter Pelletization in response to Perdue's efforts to recycle poultry litter. In this blog, he notes how, according to Delmarva Poultry Industry, 88% of broiler chickens are fed an arsenic-containing drug that ends up in poultry manure. He notes how several scientific research studies measured high levels of arsenic in poultry manure, while other research demonstrated the negative effects of arsenic and showed how arsenic can easily be converted into its inorganic form, which is highly water-soluble. One study, published in the American Chemical Society's Chemosphere journal, published that pelletized poultry manure also contains elevated levels of arsenic, which means that the pelletization process does not remove the arsenic from the poultry manure. In this blog, he also mentions another good point, and it's that between 2001 and 2009, the states of Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia produced somewhere between 12 and 38 million tons of poultry manure. But Perdue AgriRecycle has only pelletized 730,000 tons of litter. This means Perdue AgriRecycle may not be cleaning up as much of the Delmarva waterways in Chesapeake Bay as they thought they were, but I think that they are taking a step in the right direction. Overall, I believe that the pelletization of poultry litter is a great way to help improve our environment and help poultry farmers stay in business. Perdue AgriRecycle provides farmers with the opportunity to rid themselves of excess poultry litter, and it also allows us to utilize the nutrients from that litter that would otherwise be lost. The problem is, there is just too much litter for one facility to handle. What the poultry industry needs to do is have more facilities like Perdue AgriRecycle and have other large companies jump on the bandwagon of using environmentally friendly ways of dealing with poultry litter. Opening up more pelletization operations will help decrease the amount of nutrient loss into our waterways and significantly improve our environment. Take-home points. First, pelletizing litter helps farmers find an environmentally safe way to dispose of excess litter. Second, there is some risk of trace nutrients like arsenic showing up in pelletized litter, which could eventually get into our waterways through runoff. Third, pelletization can reduce the amount of nutrients getting into our water systems. And last but not least, while facilities like Perdue AgriRecycle are a step in the right direction, we need more large-scale facilities to deal with the large amount of litter that is being produced.